Welcome! So this is the second in our series on making friends. Last time we looked at ways to love our own lives, not just to attract friends, but to be happier for ourselves now. This installment is about our approach to making friends and what we want from friendship. In terms of meeting people, we have to think of a few things. The rise of technology has been well covered in the media. From the hardware, so mobile phones, tablets, laptops and desktops, to the software, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitch, Discord, there's so many. Work is now, quote unquote, facilitated by Zoom, Microsoft Teams and Google Meet. While these were all designed as ways to encourage communication, they have isolated us further. Social media, for most people, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, Snapchat, is possibly worse. When you are focused on your phone, you absolutely block out anyone around you. Then the snapshot lives you see are rarely balanced, leading to feelings of inferiority because our everyday lives don't match up to the highest point of somebody else's life. For most social media, the media algorithm shows videos you are predicted to like, and as such, only what you are interested in, classically called an echo chamber. You rarely experience the variation of what other minds think, unless you know how to clear your search history so the algorithm cannot learn your preferences. I once heard a girl say that you can't be pro-life and pro-IVF. How are those two topics linked? That challenge to my thinking comes from actually talking to other people. The quality of interaction is key. Is a text message the same as a face-to-face conversation? I think we all agree not. I find we miss the pace of a conversation and the myriad directions that real-time conversations can give. Group chat forums are essentially an individual shouting at the world, and anyone on the forum can respond. I certainly miss the mix of people talking, the tangents of conversation, and the possibilities for small, transient breakout groups. All the technology allows you to speak to who you want to, say what you want, and all when you want. This is single-minded isolation. Your mind only really interacts with itself and its choices. It is precisely that lack of variety in your intention that removes any intellectual challenge from information gathering and leads to your mind travelling the same path it always does. Without the stimulation of these conversations, loneliness and depression result. A prime example is the experience of single dwellers during the lockdown of COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. I suggest that being sociable is a muscle. Protracted isolation, even with social media, will let it atrophy. However, like any muscle, you can improve your strength by exercising the muscle more, and in this game, practice makes perfect. A person must first be open to actual conversations, not just with your trusted friends, but with a group of general folk. Then your skills will, with practice, improve. So let's be upfront about a type of behavior that adds nothing to the friendship soup. Saying no when you want to say yes. Worse, you say no and expect people to know to ask you again, or perhaps to ask several times before you say you had to go or people made you. Younger women tend to do this, but it is surfacing throughout groups and work colleagues, and we need to be clear the power of yes and no. This behavior of waiting to be asked or needing to be asked several times is tangential to most people. Whenever anyone who wants to be your friend asks you something, that person trusts you to be honest, and this can come across as insincere when you want to open up to people and they to you. There is no shame in saying you want to join in, perhaps organize events or increase your involvement in events. These are all ways of saying you want to meet people and give a chance to show the real you. It is always worth noting that while we want and wish to give friendship, no one owes us their friendship. There cannot be a sense of a right to be rewarded. Friendship is a gift, and if you turn down offers, then that is your choice. More is gained from finding a group to be part of than declining all who offer and feeling superior and alone. It's said that by the time we're 5 years old, we have formulated ideas about ourselves, including general ideas that we are good or bad people. This can lead an individual to create a reality where their self-born suspicion is true. Let's look at creating your own reality. Consider someone going through a stressful home situation and transferring the stress to their work environment, feeling people at work are aggressive. The stress from this makes them aggressive towards colleagues. Colleagues either avoid the delivery of work until the last minute, passive aggression, or outright verbal altercations in the office. Now colleagues actually are aggressive, confirming his or her view. There can also be misunderstandings. Consider a shy person feeling no one likes them in the office. This makes them nervous and less prone to getting involved. People don't know what they stand for and don't include them in more personal interactions. They interpret this as being disliked, and it compounds their view they are disliked, which makes them quieter. Thus the cycle continues. The reality we create is closely allied to how we attract people. Why are some people treated well and others treated badly? Classical thought is that much relates to our childhood. Suppose you grew up in a home where criticism was frequent. You are uncomfortable being treated well. You may then tolerate situations where quote-unquote friends are cynical or critical of you, even though you find it hurtful. Further, when people fill you with praise, you may feel they're insincere or be distrustful of them. This can surface in dating, if you constantly select difficult partners over more stable ones, or friendship groups where you reject those who want you for those that are cooler. The list of rules in the tough relationships may represent a list of actions to make you feel good enough. Someone who grew up in a more stable, supportive home would still encounter the same behaviors but reject endless criticism because they have seen better treatment. Notice that both people can still find lasting relationships and partnerships. I heard it said that marriage is just matching neuroses. While slightly cynical, this does suggest that even if you are someone who has trust issues, who has to do everything themselves and resents this, you can still meet a partner, perhaps someone who needs you to do everything for them. As long as you are matched, the relationship will have an element of pairing. This conversation is about making you happier with yourself so you can find a partner better matched to the person you want to be. You will be happier and enjoy the new you and have a more stable, resilient marriage or friendship. So how do we make a change? It's true we have huge potential to control how we feel about a situation. Home can be stressful, but does home have to influence work? Can work be a haven from home or a place to seek new advice? Do you need everyone in the office to like you? Would just 1 or 2 friends be enough? What do you want to gain from friendship with this person or that person? Personal reflection is key, self-analysis of who you like and why. Indeed, who seems to like you and perhaps asking them why you get along is extremely helpful. What we consider good and bad treatment is also up for negotiations. Above all, friendship must be fun, or there'll be no point. Who needs another to-do list? So you have decided, at least for the purpose of this podcast, to make a change. Great. I hope you're excited. Realize, though, that there'll be ups and downs. We have looked at your motivation in meeting people and those you attract. What about uncontrolled situations, though, when you cannot plan? When starting new friendship, it is hugely gratifying to know that unlike a work-related conversation, social interactions can end when you leave the conversation. There are no action points unless we want them. This is a key difference between work and social-related interactions and can be hugely freeing for those prone to social anxiety. You decide how you feel about any event. It's important to be honest with yourself. But no one can make you miserable unless you let them. You decide how to react in a given situation. The saying, "every cloud has a silver lining," has persisted for a reason. Perhaps best to focus on the silver lining until you change the sky. However, sitting on unhappiness is never good, and certainly blaming others is no good. If you have absolutely no power over a situation, then yes, blame is a fair assessment of responsibilities. Consider this though. Blame tends to render us inactive. It leads to misery and frustration. Better to have an honest debrief about what you have found and ways you could change the outcome. Accept responsibility for your part of things, and you will learn much more and have more powerful tools to aid you in your search. There are 2 traits to be careful of when making friends. I wouldn't say never have them, but be careful. The first is dishonesty. The great saying, "the truth shall set you free," is written in John 8:32, a statement which Jesus Christ addresses to a group of Jews who believe in him. Jesus was, of course, crucified, and many have said, be careful of being honest for that reason. But hear me out. Honesty is actually the easiest solution. It is simpler. Lies make life difficult. You find yourself creating stories to support the original untruth, and then wondering if people have forgotten. But they never do. There's always some remnant of the lie in people's perception of you. Honesty may be harder at the time, but shows that you admire, respect, and trust a person. Honesty tells people what you stand for. You are more likely to make progress being honest. That may mean getting what you want, or just being declined sooner, so you make alternative arrangements. Look at it this way. Ultimately, do you want the person you are dealing with to know you? Being honest says you do. If you are dishonest to get someone to do something, as soon as they realize your deception, they are well within their rights to end the agreement. When you have a written contract, if you realize the other party is a liar, you can immediately end the contract and even sue to recover amounts paid. When it comes to friendship, or worse, dating and marriage, people feel they can say and do whatever will fly for now, and then are astonished when their girlfriend, best mate, or just great friend leaves them. Being honest forces you to plan what you want, what you say, and where you are going. And when I say being honest, I don't just mean being honest. I mean the half-truths that people tell, the polite truths, the facades. Conversely, ask what you want honestly, and you are more likely to have a favorable outcome. You're more likely to do the due diligence yourself about what the minimum and maximum deliverables are, what variations are acceptable, and what your obligations are for the thing you want to get. Last thing about honesty, don't be afraid to say you don't know. "I think" is a great phrase, and one that does not commit you to anything. If you feel under pressure, you can always say someone who might know, or remember, even criminals are allowed a right to silence. The second thing to be careful of is anger. Dealing with an angry toddler is an unpleasant experience for anyone, and dealing with an angry adult, possibly a 6-foot man, is worse. Many people feel bigger when they are shouting, and they look bigger, and many people feel smaller when they're shouted at. Thus, people often hide anything in the anger spectrum, including resentment and hatred, to name but a few. This leads to destructive behaviors. I knew of compulsive eating as a comfort when angry, but have also recently learnt about drinking, and there's also just malicious gossip. There are also physical problems like indigestion, angina, insomnia, and even cancer if Eastern mythology is to be believed. Nevertheless, we do get angry with each other, and the feeling should be expressed. 1. Visualize solving the problem rather than venting. Imagine resolving the problem instead of winning a mighty victory. 2. Wait to be in control of your emotions. This may mean cooling off in a different environment. It might mean returning when you've cooled down. 3. Be clear and concise when you return back to the table. Stick to the immediate occurrence and be careful of involving others except as observers. If this matter has arisen several times, finish with the immediate matter before commenting on the trend. 4. Express how you feel with the subjective "I feel," "I think," "I saw," "I agreed," rather than the accusatory "you said," "you promised." That should help to make some progress. Let's end here today, but this is quite a full topic with lots for you to think about. Next time we'll look at what is important in making friends. Where do we set our boundaries and how to enforce them? Please keep checking the Patreon site. I'll be setting up a page with lots of bonus material, and I ask a few polls for your opinions and comments. Thanks as always for listening. See you next time.